Hey everybody, it's me Amanda with Once in a Wild and welcome to our Wednesday program. It is Wednesday, so happy Wednesday. It's been a while. I have missed you guys and I hope you feel the same. And sorry I've been so absent lately. We haven't been doing much this week, so here's our live stream. We're thinking about maybe doing some more programs throughout the week if it stays on the slower side. Unfortunately, it's a little slow lately, so let me know how you guys feel about that. Maybe let me know what days of the week you guys would like to see another program, and we'll start thinking about that. We also want to think about doing maybe an Instagram pop-up live stream as well. I might even do one today, so we shall see. So that being said, it's time to get started with our program, and welcome everybody, and it's good to see you. So once again, hello everyone. My name is Amanda and welcome to Once in a Wild. We are a mobile zoo and animal outreach company, and normally we bring the zoo to you, but lately there's been less of that and more virtual programs. So here we are with our live stream, which broadcasts every Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. Central Time, of course, here on YouTube and on Facebook. And it's been a lot of fun, of course, and those of you that have seen the show before, welcome back. If you are meeting me for the first time, welcome in the first place, and it's good to meet each and every one of you. Hello, Samantha. Hello, Donna. And that is all who's tuning in so far. So please chime in with your questions, comments, concerns. This is an interactive program as always. And it's a free program too. So we very much appreciate your support from our family, friends, and followers that support us as always. Wonderful. Thank you so very much. Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and like and comment and ring the notification bell as well, because that is new to us as YouTube. So the more activity and the more followers that we get on YouTube and more subscribers, of course, then the better for us, of course. So we're trying to build that up. So tell all your family and friends about our YouTube channel. That is our newest endeavor, if you will. We're also on TikTok. We're also on Facebook, like I said, Instagram as well, which is at Once in a Wild Zoo. And again, I'm probably going to be starting to do a live stream over on Instagram as well. So stay tuned for that. I might even just surprise you guys with Instagram live streams, because we need to get more active over there on Instagram as well, I think. So welcome to the show. As always, this show is free of charge, but we do have a few options to donate and tip to our zoo, which are a couple of them are listed down below in the little pink section down there where it says tips in great big giant bold letters. You can't miss it. And beside that word tips, you have Venmo and Cash App as your two options. But we also have PayPal as well as our Amazon wish list. So PayPal is the same. It's at Once in a Wild. That's another way you can tip us, of course, with a donation of your choice. But you can also donate via our Amazon wish list, which is a fun thing to do. You can donate items that we've pre-selected for our animals and ship them to our door, which is fantastic. And thank you so much ahead of time for donating and for donating items to from our Amazon wish list and to our zoo. So thank you so very, very much. Hi, Rick. Nice to see you as well. As you guys can see, I can actually highlight your comments right here on the show, which is really, really fun. We do use a really neat program that lets us to highlight, allows us to highlight your questions and comments. So I'm glad it looks great on the TV. And I'm so glad you and Sharon are watching. Welcome to the show. It's good to see you back, Rick, and good to see you, Sharon. So today we actually have a really fun program. But before I begin, I'm going to talk about our Zoom Room animal encounter. So Zoom Rooms are basically just like what you see today. This is a live stream, obviously, and it's broadcasted once weekly right now. And there's many of our live streams actually banked up on YouTube and Facebook if you want to check those out as well. If you haven't seen our previous shows, of course, you can check them out. We always save them and upload them to YouTube and Facebook. And but we also do offer Zoom Room animal encounter. So what the heck is that? Well, that just means that you are going to be able to customize your own animal encounter. So we have a great big giant list of about 70 different animal ambassadors, and not that many species, but that's how many individuals we have, more or less. It does fluctuate a little bit because we have invertebrates and bugs, so those guys do fluctuate a little bit. However, it is a long list of animal choices, so you guys can pick between mammals, birds, creepy crawlies, reptiles, amphibians, all kinds of creatures, and you can let me know what animals you would like to see during your personal Zoom encounter, and also tell me the duration of time that you would like, and we will charge you by that, which is really cool. So let me go ahead and play that commercial for that while I'm talking about that and thinking about it, because that has been the main way for us to stay in business lately, to be honest with you. So let's go ahead and play that commercial for you guys, and that will explain everything and hopefully answer some questions about the Zoom Room animal encounters. And feel free to book your personal Zoom Room animal encounter by calling me, or you can contact us via onceinawild.com. Onceinawild.com is our website, which has all the links to our social medias, as well as most of our information. And then social media has the other information that you might be missing from the website. let's go ahead and watch this together, shall we?
Stuck in the house with nothing to do? Did your students miss their fun field trip that was planned for them? Are you looking for a fun team-building activity for your employees that are stuck in the house with the same old Zoom meetings from day in and day out? Was your child's birthday party canceled this year because you're stuck in quarantine? Well, have we got the solution for you? Our Zoom Room Animal Encounters are a great solution for you. In Zoom Room virtual animal encounters, we can bring the zoo to you, but from the safety of your own home. They are fully customizable, and you can invite all your friends to join in and meet all the animals. They are fun, unique, and very interactive. It's also a great learning opportunity. And most of all, it's very, very simple. Just contact us to book your appointment and schedule your Zoom room. Then select the animals you would like to attend in your Zoom Room Animal Encounter, and then send the link to all of your friends and family who are invited to the Zoom room that we provide to your email. And best of all, we can bring the animals to anyone, anywhere, all over the world. So visit us at onceinawild.com or call us today. We can't wait to see you.
All right, so that explains a little bit about our Zoom Room Animal Encounters, which are, again, fully customizable, and you guys can call me and book your Zoom room. Those are great for birthday parties. They're great for offices and classes, of course. I know school's mostly out of session right now, but you have things like daycares and other types of things that you might need a class, and just something fun to break up your day, or just because maybe you really love animals and you just want a personal show with animals. And we also, of course, do in-person animal encounters right now as well, but we are trying to be safe and sound here in Texas, especially with the new regulations with wearing masks and things like that. It's a little bit harder to do in-person animal encounters right now. Hopefully very, very soon in business with that as well. And we absolutely love bringing the zoo to you in person. So without further ado, let's talk about our first animal ambassador. So today we actually have 4 different species. I usually bring 3 or so. So today I brought 4 and we have several of them, but let's see, 3 out of 4 of these animal species have never been on the program before. So please be very, very patient with our animals that are new to the program. As you may not be able to see, there are lots of lights on in this room, and there is a great big giant room in here, or this is a great big giant room, I should say. It's a studio. So some of our animals might be a little bit nervous to come out here. So we're going to be very, very patient with them, especially for their first time. And then we do have one other animal which has come on the show before, but he's only been on here 1 time other than today. So, and all the animals that we're meeting today are actually baby animals. So I thought I would theme it a little bit to, I know it was kind of a surprise today. I didn't really list any of the animals that were going to be on the program on the description down below or on our announcements this week. So I wanted to keep it a surprise for you guys, and so you guys could meet some new animal species, which is really, really fun. It's always really fun for me. And make sure that we're in focus there. It looks a little better. Let's go ahead and talk about our first species before I bring one of them out here for you guys, because they are very new to me. They're actually brand new. They're only 3.5 weeks old, and new to the world, new to everything, new to life, new to training, new to me. So they're learning all the things. So we're going to be very patient with them. So let's go ahead and talk about them first, and then we'll get to know them in person. How about that? So what is this? Well, it's a type of duck, and it's a wood duck. So wood ducks are a native of the United States, Canada, and a little bit in Mexico, I believe. So they're from North America, essentially. They are a migratory species. So depending on the time of year, you may see them down here in Texas, you may not. They don't frequent down in South Texas a whole lot. Now, that is what I have researched lately. So I don't know by personal experience. I've never seen wood ducks here in the wild in South Texas, but I am told they do come down here sometimes. And also they are a migratory species, like I said. So they're going to fluctuate where they live throughout the year. When it's a little bit colder is when they're going to come down here to the south. And normally they're going to live in the kind of eastern, northeastern, but kind of all over the United States and a little bit of Canada and a little bit down south of us as well. Like I said, this is a beautiful species, but they're also a dimorphic species, meaning that males look like this. Like you can see right here, this is how the beautiful male looks. And they do actually look different seasonally as well. But most of the time, the male is going to look just like this in the photo. They have gorgeous colorations all over their body and beautiful white, stark white lines and markings all over them, which kind of separate the little sections of coloration. They don't even look real to me. They look very, very unique in the bird world and especially in the duck world. So That is what the male looks like. And after the breeding season, which typically is after I would say during the summer, so like nowish, the males, if they're mature, are actually going to lose some of their beautiful plumage that they have during the breeding season, and they're going to look a little bit more like the females, who look like this. And I know this isn't a full body shot, so I apologize, but the females are basically, they look like the male, except for with a little bit of a shorter crest, but the colorations are going to be totally different. Even their eye color is brown with a yellow kind of circle around their eye, which is interesting to me. And then they have that white kind of mask around each eye, which is really neat. So that you can see from far away. That is the best way to recognize them from a distance, as a female wood duck. So the wood duck male is obviously looking like this. So very, very easy to tell if it's a male from a female, right? That is called dimorphism. And again, during the breeding season, he'll look like that, and then lose his plumage a little bit. He won't quite look like the female, but he'll look a little bit more brown like her as well. But the females look like this year round. So they're going to look very, very different, right? Wood ducks are named wood ducks because they actually roost in trees a lot more than other duck species. Of course, they're not a domesticated type of duck, so they are a flying duck, and they're smaller than most domesticated ducks as well. So they're still a wild animal. They also live up in the trees. Like I said, they actually have little gripping toes, which hopefully you'll see some of the little toes here in a little bit, right? In real life, you can probably see on the male there. He's sitting on a rock, but they are able to kind of grip onto tree branches and things. And that helps them to stay safe from predators, because these guys don't have a ton of defenses other than to stay away from their predators. And their predators can be any animal that is bigger than a duck that eats birds and other animals like that. So any carnivore that can catch them. So foxes, raccoons, of course, some of these animals are omnivores as well. Raccoons are omnivores, but any animal that eats other animals that is bigger than them is potentially a predator. Other birds of prey and things like that. Cats are also a big problem for them. Anything really, humans hunt them too. So they do have a long list of predators. So staying away from predators up in the trees, being more arboreal up in the trees, helps them to stay away from danger, right? But they do have specialized toes, feet, and little nails, and even a very, very good gripping back toe, which can help them perch. And since they're a smaller type of duck, that also helps them to be able to be lightweight and sit in a tree very, very easily. Reason why they're called the wood duck is because of how they nest. So wood ducks will actually either find a hollowed out rotten tree, or maybe a ex-home from another animal like a woodpecker or any other animal that digs a hole into a hollow tree cavity. They will adopt those homes and actually use that for their nesting season. And the female will go into the nest and lay anywhere from, well, she can have less than this, but typically it's 7 to 14, maybe even up to 20 eggs. And 14 is typically where they max out though, but I'm going to a little bit more about how they nest here in a minute, and you'll understand why they don't really know how many eggs they have. But in the hair of humans, we've been able to see how many they lay, and it's usually 7 to 14, more or less. They have quite a bit of babies, and that's to help them to stay populated, because those babies are also very, very vulnerable to predators. So if a duck that's small is already vulnerable to predators, what is more vulnerable but a flightless little baby duck, right? So they tend to be having lots and lots of babies, and that way it helps their numbers a little bit better to have a better chance of surviving as a species, right? So the mom will have all those eggs, anywhere from 7 to 14, more or less, right, inside the hollow tree. And she's gonna nest and actually incubate those eggs for around 1 month, more or less. So it's usually anywhere from 28 to 32 days. So it's around a month long, and she'll, and then they'll hatch. And so when the babies hatch, they get only 1 day, more or less, to stay in the nest. And then they have to come down. So the coolest thing about wood ducks, in my opinion, is actually how they come out of their nest. So they're going to nest inside that hollow tree cavity. Here's mom again, just to show you what she looks like. And as you can see, she's more brown, so she stays more camouflaged in the tree to incubate the egg. That makes more sense, right? The male is brightly colored to attract a mate, and then, you know, she's going to look like that because she's sitting on the nest. So once the eggs hatch, typically they'll have around a 24-hour period to kind of get adjusted, wake up. They don't have to eat for 24 hours because they're living off of the yolk inside of the egg for that long, and then they start getting hungry. So mom will instinctively leave the nest at that first day, and then she will jump out and fly out, because she can fly, and then she will start calling to her babies on the ground or in the water below. So typically they like to nest above water to make it a little bit easier on their babies, right? Let's make myself a little bit larger so you can see me. Oh, I gotta come over here. You'll see why I have all this set up in just a moment. So mom will start calling to her babies, and typically they like to nest over, like in a tree, hollow tree, over some water or over really soft ground, because after what happens, after mom starts calling them, they're going to jump out one by one out of the nest. The first brave soul is kind of the leader, right? And he or she will jump out of the nest and fall all the way down to the ground. It could be up to 40 or 50 feet high. Isn't that incredible? This little tiny baby duck just jumps right out of a tree, just leap of faith onto the ground, either soft grass, hopefully soft leaves, or into the water. And they can swim immediately right after, recovering from having that hatching day. So isn't that cool? So that's one of the neatest things about wood ducks is how tough they are. They are a wild animal, so they have to be very, very tough to survive in nature, don't they? Isn't that incredible? So, and then the babies are super cute. They kind of look like this when they're first hatched. They're like one of the cutest ducklings in nature. And of course, baby ducks are called ducklings, aren't they? Let's see what questions you guys have before we get started actually seeing our real life animal. And please forgive me, the animal is probably going to be kind of wiggly. So the ducklings are going to come out here, probably just one at a time, maybe just one period. We'll see how they do. They're a little bit nervous. They are wild animals and they are baby animals, new to the world, new to the studio. So we're working on their training, and I've only had them for a week and they've been doing really well so far. Two in particular have been doing really, really well, and you'll hopefully get to see them in just a moment. So we'll cross our fingers. So let me see what questions you guys are asking so far. You guys are just excited? Yay! Wahoo! So excited. So yes, so they are more common up north as far as a species. Wood ducks do frequent in the Carolinas, kind of on the eastern coast of the United States and the north part of the United States. They're not too super common here in Texas. So I actually have never seen any in the wild that I know of. I may just not have been paying attention, or maybe it was off breeding season and I didn't recognize them. You never know. But I don't believe that they really breed down here very much. They're going to breed up north and in the east, and they'll come down here if it gets really cold. But South Texas, they really aren't here much at all. That is a great thing to say. Yes, very cool. So I'm glad you've actually seen them. A lot of people have seen them in nature. And one really fun fact about the wood duck is they used to be an endangered species. So back in the early 1900s, about, I want to say 1915, they were overhunted and they started depleting in numbers due to basically the depletion of their habitat. So habitat loss. A lot of trees were being cut down even before that, like even in colonial days and things like that. But leading up to, from colonial days all the way up to the early 1900s or late 1800s, deforestation was a huge problem for all birds, but especially some of these birds that we're talking about that need trees, like the wood duck. So also wood ducks rely on hollow trees. So some of the dead trees and things that they were cutting down, and all the trees that they were cutting down, were depleting the population. And also up until then, there was no hunting regulation for them. So they were just being hunted to the brink of extinction. And a lot of birds in the United States actually were being hunted as well for a very specific purpose, not just for food, but for their feathers. So wood ducks have beautiful feathers, as you saw in the photo. And the feathers are kind of like iridescent and really, really neat looking and kind of unique and awesome looking. And so they were sought after for hats. It was really, really popular back then to put feathers in hats and all kinds of different feathers. And the more beautiful the feathers, the more popular you were as a human, I guess. And but there was no regulation on the hunting of these wood ducks and some other species. So eventually, in I think 1918 is when they started regulating that and putting forth a regulation on them, essentially. So they started, what is the word? They started basically enforcing a rule or a act, which was the Migratory Bird Act, which was really, really important to help a lot of these endangered species. So by from 1918, so let's say 1920, all the way to the 1940s, the wood duck was protected from hunting. So you really couldn't hunt them. So during that time, they were able to repopulate. And also during that time, they came up with the really good idea to provide nest boxes for these wood ducks, because a lot of their wooded areas were being chopped down for lumber and things like that. So it was a really good thing that happened. Otherwise, the wood duck would probably have gone extinct like some other species here in the US, or near extinct, right? So that is very, very good that happened. And nowadays, endangered anymore. In fact, they are able to be hunted again. I'm not anti-hunting within reason, and it is regulated, of course, and seasonal. So they are able to be hunted again. It's seasonal. totally fine. I'm not a hunter myself, so I don't enjoy that kind of thing, but I do understand if you are a hunter. And it's pretty common to hunt wood ducks. So a lot of hunters know a lot about them, and we still put up nest boxes to be able to make sure the populations are really, really good. And those nest boxes are actually even better for them than natural tree cavities because they're typically on a pole, and predators can't get to the animals or to the nestlings, the babies, inside of the nest cavity that's the artificial nest because the pole is too hard to climb, as you might imagine. So they're typically up on poles. You can also put them in on the side of a tree, but it's going to be a lot more common for them to be eaten by predators like snakes and raccoons, and even squirrels will eat duck eggs, etc., or they'll take over the nest and dump them out of the nest and take over. So they're actually a lot safer in man-made nests. Isn't that interesting? So it's a very, very good thing. And thank you, Donna, for tagging so many people. It's really fun to see so many people tuning in. And hello, Irene. Nice to see you. Okay, I'm just making sure you guys don't have any other questions. So pretty both ways, yes, indeed. But it's a little bit unfortunate how selfish humans can be sometimes, right? Because we want things. We want feathers. We want, souvenirs, things like that. And depleting a species is definitely not worth it, right? So I'm actually going to pause really fast and get our first animal out, and hopefully they will participate and we'll be able to see one of our beautiful ducklings here in a moment. But I'm going to step out for just a moment, get them ready, and then I'll be right back. How about that? We'll be right back once I'm prepared. All right, see you guys in just a moment. Well, hello, we're back with one of our baby ducklings right here. So this here is a 3.5-week-old wood duck. We don't know the genders yet, but very, very soon, as you saw before, we will be able to see that dimorphism in their coloration and some of their other body features. They even have different color eyes. So if we start seeing their eyes change color, then we'll know male from female. I'm hoping that he or she will see those little wiggling worms down below. It's okay. I'm going to make sure that he or she does not fall off. There's some worms. So ducks are actually omnivores, and they eat both plants as well as other animals. And they tend to really like worms and bugs for treats. So we are working on training, as I said before. And it seems that the live mealworms are actually their favorite so far. And they're still getting used to me, to my hands, and everything else. So we're slowly introducing them to everything in this world. And they're doing pretty well for how new they are to the world, so that open mouth there. So ducks have a really interesting beak. And especially wood ducks actually have a very unique beak as well. They have kind of a pointed downward little tip on the end of their bill. I don't know how well you can see that on this one. And you hear the noises. Here comes some more worms. They have to be very gentle and slow because these guys are prey animals, and especially when they're babies, they're a little bit on the nervous side. So I'm just going to keep handing this one treats, and hopefully he'll be very comfortable, or she will be very comfortable, right? I'm going to get back to you guys' comments. So cute, and I'm so proud of these little guys for doing so well so far. I'm not going to let this guy jump off the cliff here. Although, you know what? If the wood duckling actually did jump off the table onto the floor, they'd be totally fine. I promise you. They're one of the toughest animals I've ever worked with. I've noticed that they are just like, they'll jump on top of each other. And like I said, they jump out of trees up to 40 to 50 feet from the air. So they're totally fine. I'm going to do my best to not let that happen because we want to have a program, right? And we want to make sure that they're as comfortable as possible, of course. You see how long the neck kind of extends like that? Isn't that cool? Yes, they kind of do like the little head bob, I've noticed. And I don't know what that means. I'm still getting to know these wood ducks. I worked with other ducks before, but these are my first wood ducks to actually raise. So that's pretty cool. Would you like more worms? Maybe I shouldn't have chosen such a interesting little mat here. Would you like a worm? They're very distracted. So there's lots of lights and fun things to look at in this room, and probably a little bit nerve-wracking for them at first. Do you hear the noise? So that's the noise they're actually going to use to call to their mom and their siblings. So I've actually got both other siblings. There's 3 of them total here, once in a while. I've got both siblings over here on the ground safely together. And I did expect the one that was in the over here to be calling for the other ones. And that's perfectly normal. So as they're babies, they really don't have any defenses. So their best way to stay safe is to stay together. So that's instinctively what they're going to do. Yes, very talkative. Oh, I was talking about their beaks. They also have a very interesting beak, just as a duck. Ducks in general have little, almost like little teeth, almost like a comb inside their mouth. That's going to help them to sift through murky water and sift through different things to find food. And as I said, they can be plants or bugs or little animals and things too. They're super cute, aren't they? Oh my goodness, adorable. So at 3.5 weeks old, they're already getting pretty large, as you saw the photo from before. I might show it again just to remind you guys. But they are small, fluffy, a little bit more on the yellow or tan side when they're born. And then as they grow very, very quickly, in fact, I was told at about 9 weeks, these guys leave their moms and they can fly. And I was told even before that, they're going to start to learn how to fly. So don't you worry, we'll be able to provide them a nice area to fly around. And we're looking forward to seeing all of that behavior. I think this one's going to do the program for me. Now, we don't have any names for our ducklings yet because we want to make sure what genders they are and see their personalities come out a little bit more. 2 out of 3 have been a little bit more outgoing than the third one. The third one's just taking its time to get to know us and whatnot. And that's okay. Super cute. Okay, I know it looks like they're getting closer to the camera, which is fine. And maybe they see themselves in the screen over here. Sorry, I'm pretty distracted because I'm so excited to have a new animal on the program. It's been a minute since we've had a new animal, and I'm excited to show you guys 3 new animals today, as well as 1 repeat animal. Don't go anywhere. 1 repeat animal that you've seen one other time, but still a fairly new animal. Not that I don't mind, not that I mind repeating animals for you guys, because I know you guys love our animals. But we love birds here at Once in a Wild, so we've been thinking about it for a while on which birds we should adopt next. And we decided on some ducks. Why not? So ducks are highly aquatic, as you probably know, and they do have webbed feet. Look how cute he or she is being. I keep wanting to call it a he, but I don't know at all. So they have super webbed feet, which they use for swimming, just like you would use flippers at the beach, right? Or in the swimming pool, or when you're scuba diving, etc. They're just kind of built with those. And they're very, very aquatic. When they're fully grown, they're going to have waterproof feathers as well. Their feathers will be, when they're hatched, they're going to be downy and soft and not waterproof. And as they grow, their feathers will grow in to their adult plumage, and they're going to be very tightly compressed together. That's how their feathers are, almost like a penguin. Have you ever seen a penguin? Penguins have a ton of feathers together, and they're very waterproof as well. But ducks also have something on their back near their tail called a preening gland. And a lot of birds have a preening gland as well, but a duck's preening gland is very oily. And what they do when they preen themselves is they're going to, oh my goodness, where are you going? They're going to take some of that oil from their preening gland and kind of put it all over themselves to make themselves even more waterproof. So they are really awesome. Have you ever heard the phrase "water off a duck," roll off a duck's back, like water off a duck's back or something like that? One of those phrases, right? So that just means that they're waterproof. So if water was on top of this duck, then the water would roll right off. And they're very good at staying buoyant and swimming. They're very aquatic. That's where their food is, etc. But again, this species, the wood duck specifically, and other perching ducks like whistling ducks, etc., they have longer legs. They have specialized toes, which are made for gripping the tree branches, etc. Oh, they're really enjoying those worms, aren't they? And as you can see, there's some feces right there, right here next to my hand. These guys do use the restroom quite a bit. They are very, very messy. My goodness, where are you going? So I did put kind of a little barrier right here under the camera. So he or she is going all the way up there and then stopping because there's something in front of it. There you go. You want more worms? Nobody can see you though. So we have to move you back this way. And they're very persistent. These guys are stubborn. Let me tell you what. So they've been a little bit stubborn, but we always try to give our animals a positive experience with things that they like, right? So we're trying to figure out what they like. So the first part about animal training is trying to have a positive relationship with your animal. And then you figure out what reinforces your animal. So what they like. So I've been experimenting with all kinds of different foods for them. And since they're babies, they're getting all the food that they want right now, as far as their main diet, which is like a duck pellet diet, basically. Are you gonna check out my ring? That's perfectly fine. What about my fingernail? They seem to like fingernails as well. Isn't that interesting? And toenails. But the worms, the live worms, seem to be their favorite. They also do get dried worms in their bath time. I put them in the tub for a bath time. And they do get to swim at least twice a day here once in a while. Pretty awesome. I'm gonna gingerly hold this animal while I answer your questions and make sure they don't leave. I think they're doing very well. We do want some suggestions for names, if you guys don't mind. Here's some more worms. Yum. And we've had a lot of really neat suggestions and ideas, but we are going to wait to find out what the genders are. And I'm excited to do like a gender reveal for you guys once we find out. So luckily, this is a dimorphic species, right? So that means that we're going to be able to tell very, very easily once they're a little bit older. And usually that's around 9 to 10 weeks. So it's not very much longer. They're only 3.5 weeks now. So we don't really have a ton of time to wait to find out the gender. So I'm fine with waiting until we officially name them. So they all, a lot of people ask me how we tell the difference between them. The ones that have seen these ducklings so far, and they're asking, man, they're identical because they all look the same at this age, and that is as for their protection, because they all look the same. They're going to be huddled together in a little mass together, and as they age, they're going to get brown, and they're going to turn whatever colors that they're going to be. Right? Want to play with my fingernail? There you go. He's like, nah. What was I trying to say? I forget. But once they kind of get this age, then they're brown, they're a little bit more camouflage. And then if they're male, they're going to have those beautiful colors. And then seasonally, they're going to lose some of that coloration and molt, as all birds, they have to molt usually once or twice a year. And they'll regrow those beautiful feathers. So we're looking forward to seeing what genders of wood ducks we have, but we love both genders. It's fine. So no matter what they are, we're going to love them anyway. So I hope you guys are enjoying our newest animal. We did just receive them about a week ago, and it's been a lot of fun. And you're very, very talkative. They do chirp a lot to one another and to their mom. Oh, and another thing about the wood duck's vocalization is once they're adults, the males and females actually do have different noises as well. So that's another way we can actually tell, even if they don't look different from each other, but they will look very different. So that's really, really nice. I'm going to give you some worms. Is that okay? Here, worms. Yum. See, now they're getting used to things and knowing what to expect. Sometimes when your hands move quickly, they don't understand that that hand is not a predator. So we have to make sure, give them lots of positive treats. Look at that. Now he's just expecting it, he or she. Super cute. Very, very good. Maybe next time I'll just get a plate. But I feel like the worms would. Okay. It's a challenge sometimes being an animal trainer, isn't it? We got to figure out what they like, and then we got to work with the food that we're giving them. Would you like some greens? What do you think about that? Let's just try it. Since you're being so good. What about that? Do you like them? I think you're going to play with it. So I'm just going to put that there. Hold my hand there. I don't think you like it as much as the worms, huh? Boop. Ducks do eat greens. Normal. This one's being picky. But again, they're babies too. So they're learning about the world, what they like to eat, just like human babies too, right? Of course, baby ducks are called ducklings. You knew that, but you can also call them chicks. Chick is like a general word to use for birds, babies. Very, very nice. I love that little head bob they do. It's like I don't know if that's a call to each other. If you guys know more about ducks than me, let me know what that means. I would love to know. I'm gonna hold my thumb right there so they don't leave. They are so, so cute. Ricardo says, looks like the Gansito mascot. I actually really like that name, Gansito. But isn't that goose? Gansito is goose or little goose, right? Yeah. Yeah, very curious. They are so alert and so curious about the world around them. I'm looking forward to moving them outdoors when we get their outdoor enclosure ready for them, because they will be living outdoors. Ducks in the house is a very difficult thing to do. Some of you guys that have pet ducks, I'm sure you know this, but ducks are very, very messy, and keeping them outdoors, if you can, is a little bit better for them, as long as you provide them with some nice cool water and maybe some misters during the summer, especially down here in South Texas. If you guys are interested in getting pet ducks, you must keep them with lots of water. They love water. And ducks actually have to have water with their food, or else they can't properly digest and they can't be healthy. So you have to have a water source for them. So naturally, having a water source and using the restroom a lot is going to have a lot of mess. So just be prepared for that sort of thing if you're unfamiliar with ducks. The ducks are wonderful. There's many domesticated species of ducks that are out there as a choice if you would like a pet duck. I think ducks are wonderful animals. Most domesticated ducks don't fly very well, so they're a little bit easier to manage. Whereas wood ducks and other flying ducks, they need a pen with a roof on it, of course, and they need a lot of predator-proof provisions to make sure that no predators eat them when they're outside. So don't you worry, we will be doing all of that. But we're looking forward to seeing them get to know the world around them as they get older. Right, buddy? You're awfully talkative. I'm just going to let you do the show. I suppose. Aren't they cute? I think baby ducks are one of the cutest animals in the animal kingdom as a baby, and as an animal in general. Ducks are pretty cute, right? Even as adults. So ducks are actually born very, very developed. We call that altricial in the zoo world. Altricial versus the opposite. No, they're precocial. Don't listen to me today. I'm off today. So ducks are born precocial, meaning very developed, but altricial is the opposite. So for like example, for like a parrot, parrots are born blind with almost no feathers on their body, sometimes a little bit of fuzz, and that's it. They are very helpless and have to be fed by their mom and dad by the mom and dad vomiting into their mouth, etc. So they're almost eating like baby formula as a parrot, for example, and other smaller birds too. And even like songbirds and things like that are born very altricial too and very helpless. They see, and songbirds and other birds like that are fed like worms and things like that, right? But a duck is born walking around. They can see, they can, you know, get around on their own. They actually feed themselves. They're going to follow mom and siblings around. Oh, did you now just see my face? Is that what happened? But that's called precocial. Precocial is more developed with, you know, like I said, more feathers, all the senses. They can walk around just fine. They can run around. They can even swim basically the next day after they're hatched, which is pretty amazing. But that is most ducks. And in fact, all ducks are born pretty precocial, and all chickens too. They're a little bit unique in the animal kingdom because a lot of babies are born the opposite, where they're altricial. So altricial is less developed, and precocial is more developed. And I find it funny how most birds are different from each other, aren't they? Pretty neat. Yes, I guess that was a yes about Gansito being, well, Gonzo. Gonzo? Is a Gonzo a goose? Is that what goose is? Donna says, Ducky is doing very well. Have you already named this one Ducky? Oh my goodness. Super cute. I'm just going to let this one do the show. You want to just do the show? How do you feel about that? Maybe next time we'll try 2 at once, but I don't think I'm going to attempt that today since this is going so well. Maybe we just give you all the worms that I have left. Would you like that? What about that? Here. Have some worms. Very, very cute. So Gonzo is goose. Very, very good. I like that name. I wish it was a goose so we can name it Gonzo. But we are going to have to think of some names that kind of go together since we have 3 of them. And wood ducks are very, very unique. They're not like a typical like Donald Duck looking duck, right? Because they're not domestic. So we want to give them very, very special names. So we shall see what we come up with and take all names into consideration, and we'll see their genders and everything else. Can you not get the worm? There it is. Get that last worm and then we'll be done. Oh, and then there's a couple more worms crawling away. Worms are Ricky's favorite animal. I always want to mention that because he loves worms so much. I hope you guys have enjoyed our little bird friend here. I think we're going to keep it short and sweet for this newest critter here, because when you are training new animals, you want to make sure, I'll take my hand away so you can see them a little better, that the experiences are positive and a little bit shorter for their first or second time, etc. Oh my goodness, that was a cool view of your mouth. So ducks, again, have little comb-like projections inside their mouth. I believe they're called lamellae, just like they are in flamingos. I know they're called lamellae. And those little comb-like projections help them to filter through the water to find food and to grab onto food items. They have a very interesting inside of their bill, don't they? I think Bill would be a cool name for a male duck. He thinks so too. Maybe you're a boy. Well, we shall see. Stay tuned. Oh, there's more worms that they're trying to find. Oh my gosh, how cute is that? So stay tuned for more training updates and more programs with our duckling. So I think we're going to move on to our next animal. I'm going to dip out once again. I'm going to get rid of this little mat here. And the reason I have the mat is to make the duckling nice and comfortable, of course, and also to pick up any mess, which the duck obviously already left. The ducks are very, very messy. And so I thought ahead to make sure we were nice and clean for the next animal. And I think we're going to go ahead and let this duckling rest down below with its siblings. How about that? Oh, one thing I forgot to mention about how they nest is they sometimes will communally nest. So that means that if there are less tree cavities to find, females will actually adopt nests of other female wood ducks. So they could have double the amount of eggs to take care of. So they'll basically kind of like dump the eggs into another female's nest, and they don't know the difference, and they just raise them all. And that's fine. So like I said, once they're hatched, they're very well developed. They're precocial. So that means that they're pretty easy to care for, and having a bigger group of them might even be a little bit safer for everybody. So that ends up working out for everybody. It's not really a bad thing, but they may have many as like, let's see, double of 14, whatever that may be. Do the math for yourself. I'm not a math person. So Anyway, we will go ahead and let this duckling rest down below. You can make fun of me all you want for not knowing math in my head, but on the spot, it's almost impossible for me to do math. So 7 times 4, that is usually around the maximum of eggs that will fit into a nest cavity and whatnot. But it could fluctuate, of course. It might be different numbers depending on the female, depending on whatever. Oh my goodness. Here's a good question. Can I have a peacock in my backyard? Yes, depending on your regulations of where you live. Peacocks are very, very loud. They're a lot louder than roosters. So if you can have roosters, I would imagine you can probably have peacocks. Peacocks are actually pretty easy to care for. They're pretty self-sustaining. They eat a lot of bugs on your property, etc. If you have a big property, that's very, very easy. If you have small property, it's not going to be great for your peacock. They need a lot of room. And peacocks don't do well alone either. So you're going to have a little group of them. And usually you're going to have some females and a male. So multiple males is doable if you have a ton of property, but multiple males on small property will definitely fight one another. So that is a whole other story. They're kind of like roosters in that regard. A little bit less like aggressive than roosters, I would say. Chicken roosters, you know, but peacocks are actually really easy to take care of. There's a lot of research to be done for any animal to adopt, but it depends on what your neighborhood and what your property, you know, the area around your property will say, but they need a lot of room. So I wouldn't recommend having them on like a normal sized type situation card. But I thought about having maybe someday if I have room. They are beautiful. Peafowl is really the proper term for that. Think of the peacock as just the boy, right? Alrighty, guys, we're going to be right back in just a moment, okay? Okay, guys, thank you so much for your patience and thank you for waiting and everything. And I cleared out this little area now and we're gonna brush off some crumbs. The crumbs that you see is actually from the mealworms. So mealworms usually live in a cup when you have them and you refrigerate them, and they have like a little substrate in there for the mealworms to crawl in, around in and eat as well. So let's go ahead and meet a very, very different animal. But first I'm gonna wash my hands because of the messy duck I was just handling. And also this next animal is a carnivore. So I want to make sure and have nice, clean hands to handle our carnivore that has a really good sense of smell. Now, again, this is an animal that has never been on the show before. So please have patience. I think they're going to do just fine. But we're going to make sure that everything's positive and wonderful. This is another baby critter. I hope you guys like him. Okay. So this is Spot. Spot is coming out in just a moment. I'm going to go ahead and hold him. And we do know this is a male. We know that because this species is also a dimorphic species. And though it's a baby, it's not too young of a baby. So by now, if this was a female, it would actually be a lot bigger, most likely. And these guys have a little bit of dimorphism to them as well. So this here is a Kenyan sand boa. We're going to see if he wants to crawl on the ground here, or on the, well, not really the ground, but simulated ground, right? This is a Kenyan sand boa. In Africa, of course, in Kenya and surrounding areas. And there are many different species of sand boa, but this is my favorite one. In the wild, they look just like this. They are orange with kind of brownish black spots on their dorsal. And on their ventral, which is their belly, they have a white belly. Isn't that interesting? So this is exactly how they would look in nature. And I'm not really sure why they look like this. I do know that the pattern might help them to blend in a little bit with the background and hide from predators and prey. This is actually a predator. He's a tiny predator. But at this age, he's going to eat teeny tiny little mice, which is what he normally eats here at Once in a Wild in my care. They are going to eat pinky mice and things. They are ambush predators. So this type of boa, it is a boa, believe it or not. Did you know that there are boas that were so small and miniature size like this one? He's barely even on camera, which is honestly why I've never brought this snake on the live stream before, because they're so small. But I figured you would like to see him today because he's a newer animal and that's kind of neat. So Spot is a Kenyan sand boa, like I said before. These guys live under the sand, like their name says, sand boa. There are many species of sand boa. And the Kenyan sand boa, like I said, lives in Kenya and surrounding countries in Africa. These guys are typically never seen, which makes me wonder why their coloration is so bright. But I mean, who knows? But these guys, and even in the care of humans, they're going to be burrowed most of the time underneath sand or substrate, dirt, whatever you have. In his enclosure behind the scenes, he's got some sand substitute, which is kind of like a coconut sand thing. It's a little bit less dusty than sand, which so I prefer it a little bit more. It's a little bit healthier for them and healthier for me, so I don't have to be coughing up sand dust all the time when I'm cleaning them. But that works just fine for them. And they can even live in like aspen bedding as well. They can just burrow underneath that. As long as they have something to burrow underneath, they kind of prefer that. And they're a little bit more comfortable. You can see how tiny he is. So sand boas in general are typically around 2 foot or less. And the 2-footers are actually the females. Those are the bigger ones. Females are much larger than males. And a male will have a longer tail as well, which is how we can tell for sure that this is a boy. Isn't he cute? So sand boas are really, really adorable, tiny little snakes, but they are predators, eating very small rodents usually. They might eat an occasional bird as well, but rodents are typically what's going to be on the ground, right? These guys are not an arboreal species, like the duck. They're a ground-dwelling or terrestrial or even sub-terrestrial species. They're going to be underground most of the time, or under the sand at least. And you usually will never see them. I can tell this one is trying to burrow underneath this blanket right now because he probably wants to be buried, feeling a little bit more comfortable that way. They are vulnerable to predators, being outside of sand and other substrates. And so instinctively, they want to hide. So they are very, very well adapted to digging. They've got a very flat face, as you might be able to see. I know he's very tiny, so I apologize. As he gets bigger, hopefully you'll be able to see him grow up, and he'll be a teeny bit bigger than this. The males don't get much larger than like a foot. They're very, very small. And females get around 2 foot, like I said. But they do have kind of a flat nose, like a shovel-like nose. I wonder if I can focus on him a little bit better. Let's try it. We'll go macro here. Maybe, I did for like a second. Front of my face. I'm trying so hard. A little bit better. These guys have a very flat nose, like a shovel-like nose, which they can use for digging, right? They're very well designed. And they even have eyes that are kind of set on the top of their head. I know it's very hard to see because they're so tiny at this age, especially. And he's just a couple years old. We don't know his age because he was a donation animal. But we guess a couple, maybe 2 or 3 years old. They grow pretty slowly. And like I said, they're well designed for digging. So they're going to dig with their shovel-like nose, and their scales are a little bit rough. They're kind of in between smooth and rough. I think he's pretty smooth, actually. But some of the other sand boas have very rough scales, which are very well adapted to staying safe, of course, underground or otherwise. These guys do have a little tongue that is forked, just like all snakes do. All snakes have a forked, slender tongue, which they use for smelling and tasting. But honestly, it's mostly smelling. So we used to think it was smell and taste about equally, and now we know it's almost 100% smell. So I do take that back. So in the air with the tongue gets a lot of information having a forked end on it because they do smell directionally. And they can also bring in their tongue and rub it up against the roof of their mouth. Naturally is what they do that when they do that. And that's going to tell them information to their brain. That organ on the roof of their mouth is called a Jacobson's organ that they have. Several animals have that organ. That's going to tell them all kinds of information. See if I'll slither back that way again. Isn't he cool? Like all snakes, they don't have any eyelids, so they're always looking around. But they do have an eye cap on their eye, which is a scale. I'll see he's trying to burrow underneath the, oh my goodness, that's so cute. Next time I'll bring some sand so you can see how they burrow underneath the sand. It's pretty cool. But they do have a scale on top of their eye, which is an eye cap or eye scale, and it's clear. So that helps them to protect their eyes when they're digging into the substrate or the sand or whatever it may be. These guys are ambush predators, a truly ambush predator, because they will basically lay in wait underneath the sand or substrate, and they will basically, when they're hungry, they'll stick their little teeny tiny nose out of the sand and wait for a rodent to run by or whatever it may be, usually rodents, and then they will grab it. And like all boas, they are constrictors. Even a tiny boa is a constrictor. That means they have a strong enough body to wrap around their prey, constrict their prey, and then once that prey has passed away, they will swallow their prey whole, just like all boas. But you can see how tiny he is. Remember, we're talking about baby animals today. So this is our baby Kenyan sand boa, Spot. Spot is his name. Very, very super cute. Now, these, of course, are very harmless to humans. They're non-venomous. They are boas, and boas do give live birth. Did you know that boa constrictors, for the most part, give live birth? In fact, almost 100% of them have live babies instead of eggs. There's a couple of exceptions, but they're really weird in the animal kingdom. But this is a live-bearing boa constrictor. Isn't that amazing? So a female Kenyan sand boa will be around 2 foot long, and they're kind of chunky. And the reason that the females are much larger is so that they can survive after having a litter of babies. And they do have a litter or brood of babies, and those babies can be up to around 40 of them. Isn't that incredible? Can you imagine having 40 babies at once? That is amazing. Now, typically their litter size is around anywhere from 12 to 20, but the Kenyan sand boa is one of the highest producing moms in the sand boa world, and they can have up to 40 babies. Isn't that incredible? Maybe even more, who knows? Ricardo's asking, do they eat live prey? Yes, they'll eat live or dead prey. Here at Once in a While, this one is actually used to eating frozen thawed, so that means pre-killed and not alive when fed to them, and that is a lot more convenient for us, right? Because we can keep a lot on hand and just thaw them out whenever we need to feed our snakes. But some snakes are a little bit picky, and one way to actually trick these snakes into eating is by leaving them in substrate and then wiggling the little mouse or having a live pinky mouse, etc., on top of the sand, because that's how they're going to naturally hunt in the wild. Now, I don't normally feed this snake on substrate because that's very messy. So I usually will put them in like a separate container, a little cup or something like that. And this one eats just fine when it eats. Very, very good question. Yes, snakes. Now, most snakes are harmless to humans. This is a type of snake found in Africa, which is totally harmless. In fact, people hardly ever see this type of snake because it's usually subterrestrial or underground. Isn't that amazing? And their pattern is just incredible to me. It's like spotted naturally with orange. And this one is typically a little bit brighter than this. I think maybe going back into shed again. So snakes do have to shed to grow. That top layer of skin or epidermis actually does not grow with the rest of the body of the snake. So periodically as they grow, they're going to have to shed that outer layer of skin. They take it off and then they can continue to grow. And all reptiles, including snakes, never stop growing their entire life. However, the snake doesn't live forever, and they grow very slowly, which is why they stay so small. Very, very cute. Can you see the shovel-like nose? Wish we had more of a macro camera so you guys can see. Oh, it like for like a second. I think it's the focal point. I think that's the problem. That's okay. But just trust me, he's got a shovel nose. Very, very flat on the end, almost like a duck, actually. Pretty cute. Not every snake has a shovel-like nose like this. Just the subterrestrial or digging snakes do have that. Isn't that neat? That way he can just push underneath like he was attempting to do over here. He can just kind of use the nose to kind of like snout his way underneath the substrate. I should have thought this through. I should have brought some sand to show you guys how they dig. That's pretty neat. Maybe I'll take a video and show you guys another time. Look how they move. So snakes, even though they don't have any legs or arm, no limbs at all, they can still move around, right? And they have amazing muscles. Most different species of snakes have different locomotion in the way that they move. And as you can see, he just kind of moves in an S pattern like that. They are just beautiful little animals. I love the white belly. He's gorgeous. Now, snakes are really important for the natural environment. You won't see this type of snake in the United States, where most of you guys are from, but a few of you might be from Africa, and you might see this species in Africa. But snakes are really important to the natural environment, whether they be non-venomous or venomous, because they eat a lot of rodents. Like I mentioned before, these guys do a lot of good for us by eating rodents. And rodents can bring things like parasites and even diseases. And Lord knows we do not need any more diseases right now in the world. So we need more predators like snakes and birds of prey and things like that to help us with rodent populations and other populations of animals that might overpopulate because they have so many babies. Those snakes are very, very important. Please leave them alone. If you do see a snake, please do not harm them. Please encourage all your family and friends to not harm them as well. If you need help removing a snake, you can call a professional to help you remove them. Another really great way to avoid snakes is by keeping your yard nice and clean and keeping all kinds of mess picked up, because usually snakes will only come into your yard if there's a resource. So if there's rodent food like birdseed or any kind of food left out, and rodents will come and try to eat those resources, right? And other animals too, like raccoons, etc., will try to come into your yard. They're just trying to find food and survive. But if you have rodents in your yard, then you're probably going to have some snakes in your yard. So the best way to help out with the rodent population is to have these kind of animals, honestly. But if you don't want snakes in your yard, and I know not everybody loves snakes as much as I do, and that's fine, we're just wanting to ask that you guys leave them alone. So the best way to do that is to have a nice clean area, have debris picked up off the ground as well. So things like tree branches and lumber and all kinds of flat trash. Those things need to be removed from your yard because snakes go underneath them for shelter. So snakes will come into your yard for resources like water, shelter, and food. So if all those things are removed and everything's nice and cleaned up, then you won't have any snake problems and probably very little wildlife problems as well. But snakes are our friends. They are not the enemy like we've been taught for many, many years. And even venomous snakes are a very, very good thing to have around because they help with rodent population. But you definitely don't want to be picking up snakes like I'm doing right now if you don't know what you're doing and you're not an expert. Because there are, of course, some snakes that can harm humans. There's many of them. But we want to make sure and avoid them rather than going after them and harming them. Because guess what? If you harm a snake, that's actually going to put you in even more danger because the snake's then going to be not happy with you and probably defend itself. And that's when it's going to bite you. Snakes do not want to bite you. They would rather avoid you and stay away, but if they can't get away, they're going to defend themselves, right? So we want to make sure and leave them alone. He's trying to dig up under this blanket here. But again, we don't want you guys thinking that all snakes are safe to hold because that's just not the case. There are a few that are not, right? There are many that are not. So be very, very careful. Be careful with your pets and your kids and yourself. And make sure and leave the snakes alone. Also, it's not good for snakes to be held in the wild if you don't know what you're doing because it can stress out the animal and harm the animal. If you're an expert, I'm not talking to you, of course. All right. Well, Spot has been absolutely adorable. I kind of like watching him slither around. It's kind of therapeutic for me. Snakes are wonderful animals. They're not slimy. They're actually very smooth like leather. And he has a very smooth belly for being able to slink underneath the sand like that. Makes sense, right? How well designed is that? Bye, Spot. It's going to slither away until the next time, I suppose. I think they're so neat looking. Okay, Spot, say goodbye. We have a couple more animals to meet. Still on the program. Maybe one more time. Looks so neat, right? Against the purple. I love it. All right, let's see who's tuning in. Diggy boy, indeed. Michelle. Hi, Michelle. Nice to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Did you get to see the duck? The duckling actually did pretty well. If not, you can watch it once it's over, I suppose. Okay. Okay, Spot, you did fantastic. Let's hang out down below and rest. You can burrow yourself. I got some paper towel for him to burrow underneath. Let me pause really fast, and I'll be right back. Okay, once again, thank you for your patience. Sometimes it takes a little bit to let the animals go back home or go to their travel enclosures and then get the next animal. Sometimes it takes a minute. So I'd like to pause and do that and check my camera's timer as well. So thank you for your patience. We have another African species here. And again, we're meeting all baby animals. This is another pretty small animal. Can you see this animal? Let's see if we can focus on him. So this one we think is a male as well, although we don't really know 100% sure because it's still a baby and it's hard to tell this age. This is an emperor scorpion. If you know much about emperor scorpions, they are one of the largest scorpion species on the planet. So this is definitely not a very large scorpion right now because it's a baby. So it's still growing. These guys get pretty large. They are a harmless scorpion to humans. They have very little venom. In fact, their venom is so benign that it can barely be felt by a human. They do have large claws as a species. This one has tiny claws because it's a tiny specimen. And this one's name is Sting. We have named this one Sting because we think it's a male, but again, it might end up being female, and that is okay. Sting is kind of a generic name, although we did name it after the famous singer Sting. And as you can see, this one is pretty chunky right now, so it is due for another molt. So scorpions do molt more often when they are babies than they do as adults, but scorpions don't molt very often because they grow very slowly. This one's a couple of years old. And these guys can live around 10 in the care of humans, and in the wild, they usually live about 5 years, more or less, because, of course, they're combating natural challenges, being a wild animal, as well as predators, finding their own food. These guys are predators, too, and they do prey upon all kinds of other invertebrates, usually. They're going to eat things like insects, and even other arachnids like spiders and other scorpions sometimes. Although this type of scorpion is actually a communal species. They will live a little bit socially than other scorpions. Oops, sorry. I'm not paying attention. Should have thought about this. These guys are a little bit more active than some of the other scorpion species. You want to get down? Nope. Animals do things, you guys. So these guys do live communally sometimes in social situations. They will kind of hang out together underground to stay safe for whatever reason. We don't really know why they do that, as far as I know. These tiny animals are challenging for the camera, aren't they? Aren't they cool? So cute. And these guys are a little bit busier than, like, say, an African flat rock scorpion like Xena. You guys have probably seen Xena before, right? So Xena is one of our other scorpions here at Once in a While. The emperor scorpions like this one are a little bit more busy, more active, etc. So scorpions in general are typically nocturnal, and they are predators. So they're going to come out at night sometimes. They mostly come out at night mostly. And these guys only have to eat about once a month. And this one's a very, very good eater, by the way. He always eats. But as you can see, a little chunky right now, so due for another molt. And as they grow, they have to molt their exoskeleton. That's why he's going through another molt. And as babies, they're going to molt about once a year, more or less. And then as adults, they're going to molt a lot less often. In fact, when they are adults, they typically don't molt anymore, except for another, maybe every 5 years or something like that. And since the scorpion only lives about 10 or so, they don't molt very often, do they? Pretty neat. Look at them crawl. At this age, they can crawl a little bit like kind of up on things, like my hand. In this case, but when they are adults, they're pretty heavy bodied, so they don't necessarily climb much anymore when they're adults. Scorpions are really cool. Now, these guys do have big claws as a species, and they use their big claws for hunting and a little bit of defense, but their pinch is not really that serious. So their best defense is just to stay away from predators, like meerkats, for example, will eat these guys. Although meerkats don't necessarily live in the same countries as these guys do. These guys are more Central Africa and more of a wetter climate than meerkats. But other similar animals will eat these guys, animals that are insectivores, right? They eat lots of bugs. They'll eat scorpions. And sometimes they'll use their claws for defense. Sometimes they'll use their stinger for defense, but it doesn't do much. So what they'll use their claws mostly for is for subduing prey. So their prey is going to be things like bugs, like I mentioned before, maybe even other arachnids. They're going to grab onto their prey, and then they're going to crunch down like a crab with their pinchers, right, with their claws. And then they're going to bring it into their mouth for eating. And they have a very interesting mouth, which kind of looks like 2 more claws on either side of their mouth. And what they're going to do is kind of crush it up with those mouth-like projections on their mouth parts. And they're going to drool all over their food. And then, there I am. And then they're going to kind of eat it as it gets mushed up by their mouth. Yeah, they're pretty cool. And usually they only have to eat about once a month. How convenient is that? They don't eat very much. This guy here, I usually feed them about 2 or 3 times a month, though, because he is a baby. I want to make sure he's getting enough food. As you can see, very chunky, so not missing any meals. This one always eats for me, not a picky eater whatsoever. He likes all kinds of things like crickets, dubia roaches, mealworms, all kinds of things. And it's good to give them a nice varied diet if they'll accept a varied diet. Some of them are pickier than others. So it just depends on your scorpion, I suppose. I'm not sure. That's a great question, Samantha. Why do they scare you so? They are a little bit creepy. I do understand people that aren't so comfortable with them. Most scorpions are harmless, but there are some scorpions that are not harmless. So I don't recommend going and picking up any scorpions if you don't know what you're doing. In fact, I don't recommend picking up any scorpions in your own backyard or habitat, wherever you may live. Only a few are dangerous to humans. So there's about 1,500 or so scorpions throughout the world, and there's scorpions on every continent except for Antarctica. They're all over the place. They are a very ancient type of animal. They have been unchanged for a long, long time in evolutionary history. And these guys, like I said, there's about 15 or 1600 total species that we know of. There might be more that we haven't discovered yet, or maybe they went extinct, etc. I'm sure there are. But out of those many, about 1,500 and a half or so, only about 2% are actually dangerous to humans. Now, I don't recommend experimenting with that if you don't know what you're doing. You don't want to be testing that out on your own. And some people are allergic, so it might affect you more than others. But typically, there are not really much danger to being stung by a scorpion, is what I'm trying to say. Now, some might hurt you, like a wasp or a hornet might hurt, and I don't recommend trying it out. But I do understand being creeped out, and the fact that they are venomous animals is, another factor as well. I do understand. Now, like all arachnids, now these guys were classified with arachnids, and they've been reclassified. But like arachnids, these guys do have 8 legs and 2 arm-like appendages, which are their claws, of course, right there in the front. And they do have a tail, right, as a scorpion. But these guys have 2 main body parts, the cephalothorax and the abdomen. These guys also have a tail, because they're scorpions, and a stinger, which is unique to scorpions. But they have 8 legs and 2 arm-like appendages, which are their pedipalps, aka their claws or pinchers, right? Those are all the same thing. They're just different names for the same thing. This one does not want to get down on the ground. I find that very interesting. You'd rather be on my hand? Why? Come on, let's try it. Try new things. You might like it. Like, nah, I don't want to be on the ground. Okay, that's fine. I'll try. Very cute. So again, another baby animal that would get a lot bigger. These guys do get quite large. Why don't you try it? Try it. No, I don't want to be on the purple blanket. Okay, no problem. It's going to be on my finger. Just don't fall down. So these guys get quite a bit larger than what this is. Get about yay large. It's about the size of my hand. Pretty big. And these guys are very heavy-bodied by comparison to most scorpions. So they use them in a lot of movies and things to look really scary. Like the Indiana Jones movies and things like that. I've seen them in a lot of movies, and they always portray them as like something deadly, but they're not. They're completely harmless to humans. Did you guys know that scorpions actually glow under a black light? They have properties inside their body which make them glow like you're in a rave or cosmic bowling or something when you are glowing under a black light if you are a scorpion. And all scorpion species, to my knowledge, actually do this. I don't know why, and I don't remember what the properties are called that make them glow. So I'm always learning always learning things all the time, rather. But I just think that is so neat. Do you want to climb down? Like every time I put him down to get down, he's like, no. Thumbs down, thumbs up. These guys are so cool. So this is a emperor scorpion. This is an emperor scorpion. It's a baby emperor scorpion. They do get quite a bit larger than this. Some people also call them a dictator scorpion. I've heard that name as well. And they are one of the largest scorpion species in the world. 2 of the largest species of scorpion in the world, the 2 largest, live in Africa. One is the African flat rock scorpion, which lives in South Africa. And this one is more from Central Africa and more of a wetter environment, or a jungly kind of forested environment with more rainfall. The South African species, the African flat rock, those guys live in a drier climate, of course. And these guys are the emperor scorpion. Both of those species are the largest. One is larger kind of lengthwise and space-wise, and this one's actually larger by weight. So it is the heaviest scorpion species. I don't remember how much they can weigh. It's not very much because they're still an invertebrate, so they don't weigh too much. It's just on my thumb. You just stay there. That would be very comfortable for me. Did you know that scorpions are good moms? So this one we believe is male, so we'll probably never be a mom or dad, so we don't plan on breeding them. It's very tedious to breed them. But scorpions, when they do have their babies, they have many babies, and they're born live. They're not egg-laying animals, and they come out live and very soft. They typically do not have like their hard exoskeleton like this guy has, although this exoskeleton is about to be replaced, like I said, with a molt. Maybe he'll grow. That'll be pretty cool. But this one, the scorpion in general, will come out live born and very soft, usually a whitish or light color. And then as they harden, they'll actually stay with moms. So scorpion moms are really, really good moms. They'll hang on to their babies until they're ready to go, which is usually in a few weeks. And so when they harden, they're ready to go out into the world. They're still very tiny, so they're vulnerable, but they're less vulnerable when they have their exoskeleton all grown, right? So until then, mom will actually keep them on her back in a little cluster together. They can have a whole bunch of babies, depending on the species. They have a ton of them, and they will sit together in a little group together on the back. And then mom will feed them and water them until they're ready to be on their own. That's usually just once, because these guys don't eat very often, right? But once they have that first molt and they develop their hard exoskeleton, then they'll leave mom and be on their own. But I just find that so interesting how an invertebrate can be such a good mommy to their babies, right? Protecting them, feeding them, and watering them. We don't really think about that when we think about invertebrates and their parental instincts, etc. Now, scorpions usually have multiple sets of eyes. I can't remember how many eyes the species has, but the African flat rock scorpion, like Xena, or other larger scorpion, she has 2, 4, 6 eyes. So 3 sets of 2 eyes each. And typically they're going to have eyes in the front of their head and eyes on the top of their heads. They have a good kind of range around them, but their eyesight is very, very poor. Now, they see shadows and movement usually and light and things like that, but they don't have a whole lot of vision otherwise. They don't see color that we know of, and they don't really see very, very well at all. What they're going to be very good at is by touching. So that's how they're going to sense the world mostly. You might be able to see some little hairs on his claws there. And all over the body, they have little hairs, little tiny ones. And those hairs are for feeling around. So I'm just trying to hold my hand up. I should have thought this through a little bit more. I mostly set up for the duckling, and then I have all these other tiny animals because they're babies. But anyway, so these guys have hair all over their bodies, kind of like people, which is interesting. But they're not people, are they? They're invertebrates and not mammals, which is so crazy. But spiders also have hair all over their bodies too, don't they? But both spiders and scorpions use their hair for feeling vibration. So they have a very good sense of touch. That's how they're going to mostly sense their prey and the world around them. So if a bug runs by, or a worm crawls by, or a moth flies by, they can sense that movement of any of those little animals and grab them up and eat them. Like I said before, they do grab their food with their claws. Some scorpions will use their venom from the tail to subdue their prey as well. But this type of scorpion doesn't usually use the venom because their venom is very mild. It's very, very benign. So scorpions that have fatter tails and bigger stingers, or just fatter tails in general, and smaller claws, they will have a lot more venom usually than scorpions like this that have bigger claws and smaller tails. I know it doesn't look like it right now, but when this one becomes an adult, it will have a huge set of claws. And stay tuned for the growth process on this animal. So cute, I think. Did you know that baby scorpions are called scorplings? We had ducklings, scorplings. I don't think baby snakes have a particular name. I don't know. I don't think they do. I could be wrong. Let's look that up. I'm always learning things, right? Never stop learning when you're an animal person. All right, I think that's enough scorpion time because we have one more super cute animal to meet. All right, you want to come down? I bet you'll come down into this area over here. Although he seems to really like my hand. There we go. All righty, guys, we're going to pause again and get everything ready for our next animal. I'll be right back. Okay, I am here and back. Thank you so much for your patience. Let's see what you guys are saying. Spidey sense or Scorpy sense? I guess both. I guess they have both. Both animals have that. So they have the sense of touch. And you are welcome, Renee. No problem. Yes, indeed. Okay, let's meet one more animal before we say goodbye. This is another brand new animal to us and brand new to the program. So have a little bit of patience with him. This is a very exciting animal and one of my favorite species in the world. This is going to be a lizard next. Another African animal, believe it or not. So we had the, let's see, we had the Kenyan sand boa from Kenya and other surrounding countries in Africa. We had the Central African emperor scorpion. And now we have a super cute little guy. And I'm going to get him really situated first. He's very, very nervous. So we're going to give him some patience and some time to hang on. What is that? Can you guys see him? These guys cannot hear because they have no ears. This is a baby Jackson's chameleon. This is a species also from Kenya, just like the Kenyan sand boa. Isn't that neat? They're all kind of from similar area in Central Africa. All three of these smaller species other than the wood duck, right? This is a chameleon. I know he's very tiny. This is a smaller species of chameleon. When they are adults, they are kind of a lime green coloration. And as you can see right now, he has a pattern on him, which helps him to blend into the background a little bit better as a baby. As you can see, they are tiny when they are babies. And this one is a few months old now. So as a newborn baby Jackson chameleon, they're even smaller. So having a pattern and camouflage like this is going to help them to blend in. Now, a lot of people assume that all chameleons can turn any color, but that is just not true. So chameleons cannot turn any color to blend in with the background and the surrounding. And in fact, their color change is actually more for their mood and to show you how their mood is than to blend into anything. Chameleons are highly arboreal animals. We're going to try putting him on a branch instead to see if he's more comfortable. Chameleons are highly arboreal animals and are very comfortable hanging out in the trees. They are designed for the trees. See that? He's on a little plastic tree branch here. Let me make sure he's on focus for you guys. And he's going to be running around like a mad thing out here, I think. He's just not used to all this yet. Still getting used to everything. So cute. Oh my goodness. I keep trying to be quiet, but I forget that they really can't hear. They're very visual. These guys can see really well, and they have very unique eyeballs. Their eyeballs are independently moving, and they can see two completely different fields of vision with each eye. And it shows their brain shows two completely different kind of screens, if you will, or fields of vision. Now they blend in to the background if they are green, into green things, I should say. And as babies, like I said, they have more of a pattern. And he can turn darker or lighter depending on his mood or temperature sometimes. That is typically what a chameleon does to change color, or because, you know, that's the reason they change color rather. To change color, they have little almost microscopic pores on their skin called iridophores. They look like pores, and they can expand and contract. That's what I was trying to say. I was trying to combine the two words. They can expand and contract to show different colors. And it actually looks like they're changing color, but it's just changing space, if you would. It's very, very complicated. And we've only found out recently how chameleons actually do change color. That's very, very recent in science. Pretty amazing. I'm gonna make sure he's comfortable. He's gonna hang on my hand, like partially there. He is so cute. Chameleons are very arboreal, as you can see, very well adapted to climbing. He's got fused toes. He's got the same amount of toes as any other lizard, so 5 toes on each foot. As far as I know, most lizards have 5 toes on each foot, and I could be just forgetting some species that don't, but most lizards do. But the toes are fused together with 3 together and 2 together on each foot, so they look like little mitten hands, and that helps them to climb tree branches, just like he's doing right now. He's also got a prehensile tail, which is very tiny right now, but it also curls underneath him if he's not using it. And they can use it like a 5th limb to get their balance or to grab onto a tree branch. It is a truly prehensile tail, which can be used to grab onto branches, like I said, like another hand. And he can also hold his entire body weight with his tail as well, if he wants to. He's not doing that right now. As you can see, he's kind of come to the end of the line there. Like, oh man, I can't go anywhere. Oh my goodness. So Jackson chameleons do have the 3 horns on the tip of their face there. They have 3 horns, kind of like a triceratops. And in this type of Jackson chameleon, only the males have the 3 horns. Females might have 1 horn or even 3 horns, but they would be very, very small. So this is another dimorphic species. We can tell the difference between male and female very easily. There are a few different subspecies of Jackson chameleons, and some Jackson chameleons, the females do actually have horns too. But this type of Jackson chameleon, which is the yellow-crested Jackson's chameleon from Kenya, these guys, only the males have the horns. So we can tell that he's a boy. He is a tiny little boy, but doing very well. He came to us about a month ago, I think, here at Once in a Wild, and doing well so far. We've given him some time to settle in. And chameleons oftentimes are kind of nervous animals because they are vulnerable to a lot of predators. But Jackson chameleons tend to do very, very well in the care of humans in general. But chameleons are a little bit fragile, a little bit nervous. They're definitely an advanced species or type of lizard to work with. I know he's a Jackson's chameleon, but I'm talking about all chameleons in general. Chameleons are very, very specialized. They're very sensitive. They're also, they're kind of like flowers. Like they either do very well and are beautiful or they don't. So they're a little bit of a challenging animal to keep sometimes, and sometimes they do fantastic. Jackson chameleons are one of my favorites, though, to keep. Personally, I think they're fantastic. And he is very tiny. He's going to be not too big. These guys only get like a few inches long. They're one of the smaller species of chameleon in the world, but they are my favorite species. I think they're so cute. I love them. There he is. Oh, I didn't tell you his name, did I? He's a Jackson chameleon, so his name is Samuel L. Samuel L, the Jackson chameleon. We met Sting the scorpion before that. We met Spot the sand boa, and then no name, the duckling, right? The duckling, we're going to wait to name them until we find out the gender and a little bit more about them and their personalities. You can see how well they climb. These guys are also carnivores. They are insectivores, most of the time eating insects, right? But not to say they couldn't eat an occasional small mammal if they wanted to, if it was small enough for them to fit into their mouth. But these guys primarily eat bugs, so typically known as insectivores. There's nowhere else to go, Samuel. There's nowhere else to go. It's like, oh no, the end of the line. So these guys, when they are looking around, they're always looking around for danger, and they're always looking around for food, and they're looking for wiggly, moving food like bugs, right? So when they spot a bug, those eyes that are always moving around in two independent fields of vision will come together binocularly to look forward. And then what the Jackson chameleon and all chameleons do is they will use their tongue to actually propel out of their mouth, engulf around that bug or prey item, and it will zoom right into their mouth again, and they will eat it. And they will chomp it up and eat it after that. So the tongue itself that is inside of his mouth is actually as long as the tip of his nose all the way to the tip of his tail. That is how long the tongue is. And the tongue will actually grow with him as well. So as long as he's alive and keeps growing, his tongue will actually be proportionately the same length as his body from the tip of the nose to the tip of the tail. Isn't that incredible? It propels out of their mouth when they wanted to and sticks onto a bug or whatever they're trying to eat, and then it zooms right into their mouth and very, very quickly, and then they can crunch it right up. Very convenient if your prey is far away and you don't want to be anywhere near it. So they can stay kind of camouflaged or hidden or even just away from their food, and they won't even see them coming. Very stealthy, right? Chameleons are very unique and my favorite type of lizard in the animal kingdom. There you can see him a little bit better. You can see he's been changing color kind of this whole time, but just kind of darker to lighter. These guys don't change like purple or anything like that. Although there are other chameleons that are naturally other colors like purple and blue and orange and all the above, sometimes with panther chameleons, right? But they can't change color just to blend into anything they want. That's just not how it works. But they do change color through their iridophores, like I said before, which are pore-like kind of little things in their body. Something fun to look up as well. And they do expand and contract to give the illusion that they're changing color. Pretty cool. But they're so small that we can't really see that. Yeah, he does look bigger on camera, doesn't he? Haha. They always look a little bit like looking around all the time. But their eyes are probably my favorite thing about them because they move independently and they can look around. These guys do require a lot of moisture to stay healthy. These guys do get misted at least twice a day here in my care. And in the mountains of Kenya where they live, they need a little bit of a lower temperature than other chameleons do. They're not a hot weather chameleon at all. They're still considered a tropical species because they're up in the mountains where it does rain quite a bit, and they're in trees, right? And they're in the kind of the forested regions of Africa. But they prefer a higher altitude and a little bit cooler temperatures. In fact, at night, it gets into the 50s down up there in Africa, in Kenya, in the mountains. And so here at home, we try to bring them down into the 60s so they can thrive in the care of humans, right? We try to simulate their weather here in our care as much as we can, you know, as much as possible here in our care that it is in the wild. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm a little tongue-tied today, so forgive me today. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed our program and meeting Samuel L. And who else did we meet? Spot and Sting again. Sting's been on, I think, one other program, I'm pretty sure. But we got to see Sting and Spot and Samuel and our duckling today. And again, we do have 3 ducklings here at Once in a While, but I didn't want to overwhelm myself and the ducklings by bringing out all 3 at once. That would have been a little bit chaotic. Maybe we'll figure out a better way to present them, and we can do another try next time with all 3 of them, or I'll show you a video. In fact, I do have some videos of them that I'm going to show you before I go. So let's say see you later to Samuel L. And he's just gorgeous and beautiful, and I love him already, even though I've only had him for a short time. Jackson chameleons are one of my favorite animals. As you can see, they are wonderful. Let's go ahead and say see you later to Samuel L. and let him rest down below, give him a break, because again, this is new for him as well. He's so cute. Let's go ahead and do that, and I will show you guys some videos of our ducklings. How about that? Wouldn't that be fun? Maybe even a video of the scorpion. I think I have some of those as well. So see you later, Samuel L. Do you like the name? So we have Samuel L. Jackson and we have Janet Jackson currently as well. And you guys knew Michael as well. Michael Jackson. All right. You guys like our names for our animals? Okay, I'm going to set him down and let him rest. And I shall return in one moment, okay? Okay, you guys, thank you so very much again for tuning in today. We're just going to watch a couple of fun videos before we say goodbye. Make sure I'm good on the focus part. How's that? That's a little better. Okay, guys, all the things. This is the One Woman Show as always. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, the show is free, but you can see your tipping options down below. That's always much appreciated. So we've got Once in a Wild, onceinawild.com, of course, but we've also got Venmo, which is at Once in a Wild. We've got the Cash App, which is $ Once in a Wild, and we've got PayPal, which is also at Once in a Wild. Very easy to remember, right? We've also got onceinawild.com, where you can find our Amazon wish list, which has specially selected items for our animals that we've chosen, and you can donate those items as well if you would like. And we greatly appreciate you sharing our videos, subscribing to YouTube, and sharing all the videos, like I said, and commenting, liking, all the things that help us out. And that's a free way that you can help us out, is by sharing, liking, all of that, and following us on all of our social media platforms. So we greatly appreciate you guys, and thank you very much. Let's go ahead and see some videos before we go. I always like showing you guys videos of our animals, but I can't necessarily show you every activity that they do right here in the studio. So a lot of times I'll just videotape it all. You guys can see it later. Let's go ahead and do that, shall we? Okay, so first of all, let's go ahead and watch a scorpion video, since we talked about the scorpion not too long ago and what they were eating. So this is Sting, of course, and he has been given a mealworm to eat, and there he is holding the mealworm. As you can see, a very, very good eater. That mealworm looks huge because Sting is a small scorpion, right? Can you see the eyes on top of the head? So this scorpion species has eyes on the top of the head and also eyes in the front. The eyes in the front are a lot harder to see. They're right by the base of the claws there and the pedipalps, arms, whatever you want to call them. That's where the other eyes are. But those eyes on the top, you can see very, very easily on top of the head. Pretty cool. Okay, so let's watch this video really fast. He has been given a mealworm, and you can see him holding on to the mealworm with his claw and also with the mouth. And I think he is trying to drag the mealworm away to be able to eat it at his leisure. You can see how much they move around. But as you can see, he's not using the stinger at all to sting the prey. He's just holding it with the claws, kind of like a crab would do, right? Isn't that cool? And I think he's like, hey, leave me alone with my food. So he's just dragging it off to eat it later. I was hoping that he would eat it there in front of me, but it just didn't happen. I've got another cool video of Xena, our African flat rock scorpion, actually eating some prey, but I didn't prepare that video for you guys, so I apologize. Let's go ahead and watch another video really fast. Not that one. So let's watch some duckling behavior, shall we? As you guys know, ducklings are very, very aquatic, and ducks are very aquatic. They are waterfowl, and I don't mean like foul smelling, although they are a little bit foul smelling as well, but they are fowl, F-O-W-L, fowl. So they are water birds, and let's watch them swimming, shall we? This is super cute. Let's see. Bam. Oh, sound off because it's a little bit distracting. So they're just in the bathtub here. They do get to swim at least twice a day here in my care. It's very important for ducks to have swimming time for their skills, but also to help them hydrate. And they have to get their nares or their nostrils wet to stay healthy. And it's also really fun for them, and they really, really enjoy it. As you can see, they're having a good old time in the bathtub. Also really easy to clean up after them in the bathtub at this age. Once they go outside, I'll be using a lot of the water hose to clean up after them. For sure. But aren't they adorable? Let's watch that again just because it's so cute. So of course I don't have the tub water very deep at that point. This was about a week ago when they first arrived. And that's the three of them together, as you can see. They look identical, so we've banded them. You have to actually band them in the care of humans legally as well, since they are a native species to North America, right? In the United States. We have to make sure that it's obvious that they are not wild. Well, they're wild animals, but they're, in our care. So we want to make sure that they're ID banned a little bit. So they have little bands on their legs, which don't hurt them. It's just to help us to tell them apart and to let people know that they are owned by somebody and not just wild. Very cute. So at that point, they were actually smaller a little bit. And we wanted to make sure not to give them too deep of water. I wanted to see what their swimming skills were, because when you have baby ducklings, if you ever raise them, just so you know, you don't want to leave them unsupervised in too deep of water because they might drown. They don't have all their waterproof feathers yet. But now they're able to swim already in a week with me. So they're 3.5 weeks now as an animal, but they've been with me for a week. They're already swimming a lot better. So let's show you that as well. And they've even gotten better since this video too. So here we go. This is also kind of shallow. I've given them some dried mealworms. As you saw, the one up here that was eating the live mealworms really like that. But I also give them dried bugs in their water since they float and they can have an easy time eating those bugs. So let's watch that as well. Super cute. So there are dried crickets and dried mealworms in their water. Yes, this is still pretty shallow. Oh, look at them playing in the water. So cute. But nowadays, especially, I'm actually giving them a little bit deeper of water. I'm making sure to supervise them just in case. But they float, no problem. They're swimming around. They're diving under the water and having a good old time in our care. I think they're having a great time. And they're doing better and better every single day, getting used to their surroundings, getting used to me and their training. And they have each other for a lot of company. Oh, look at those little wings. This is a flying duck, so when they are adults, they will have a lot more wing feathers and flight feathers. But their wings are so like comically tiny right now, aren't they? Super cute. Adorable. So let's see one more video before we say goodbye. And then we'll say goodbye. Hope you guys have enjoyed our program. Here we go. This one's really cute. So this is one of the other ducklings that we didn't meet today. One of the siblings, of course. And this one's just hanging out with me. And I was just videotaping the cuteness. So you'll be able to, I'm actually going to turn the sound on for this one so you can hear the vocalizations of this animal. Aww. This was a week ago when I first received them. So fluffy. Hear the sounds? So this species of duck doesn't really quack. I forgot to mention that earlier. They kind of chirp and make different vocalizations. They sound like songbirds or something to me, or grackles, or wood ducks. If you're familiar with them, they sound like that. So cute. Oh my goodness. Look at those downy feathers. Little by little, they're losing all their downy feathers and getting their adult plumage. So they're growing up pretty fast. These guys are pretty much full grown and ready to fly at 8 to 9 weeks old. That is amazing. Can you imagine if we as humans grew that fast? I forgot to mention their life expectancy. So out there in nature, they're going to usually live anywhere from 4 to 5 at the most. 4 to 5 at the most, if you couldn't hear me before. And in the care of humans, they can live into their teens. So it's quite a bit more. And that's because they have a lot of predators. That's just an average age. Super cute. A little scratch. You can see those cute webbed feet. That is how they are able to swim so well. And they're very buoyant with their kind of chunkier bodies that stay floating and all of their waterproof feathers once they're adults. And of course that preening gland they have on their back. Can you hear the bill like snapping and preening himself? So preening is the word we use with birds when they groom themselves. That's what it's called. His little nails and claws as well. All right, that's all I have for you guys today. And I hope you have enjoyed meeting our duckling, and we will meet more ducklings next time they're on, and our scorpion, and our chameleon, and our little snake today. I hope you guys have enjoyed all the cute animals. And remember, we have Zoom room animal encounters available for anybody that's interested, where you can meet all kinds of different animals of your choosing. And usually we go from anywhere from 30 minutes all the way to 2 hours, and we can have as many animals as you would like to join in for that duration. So let me know if you're interested in a Zoom room animal encounter. I'm going to see what you guys have to say for the last part of, oh, here we go. Ricky's asking what the red band means. So that is basically just a color that I chose. So when I went to the store, I wanted to get some little, they're zip ties, and I wanted to get different colors. And they had all kinds of different colors, but I wanted to get a white one, black one, and red was the other color choice that I preferred. I don't really like neon colors very much on animals. It's just my preference. So it's just my preference of color choice. The red band is literally just an identification form when it comes to birds. Birds, you don't want to put a collar on their neck, right? Because that might hurt them. So they don't wear a collar like a dog. They wear a little, basically just like a wristband. It's loose enough to where it doesn't hurt them. It can move a little bit and it's not tight, but it's also not loose enough. It's not too loose, I should say, to where it comes up. So it has to be a little bit of a balance. Take some experience to know how to band a bird. Please don't do that if you don't know what you're doing. Take them to a vet or a professional to have them banded first. But I've been doing this for a long time, so etc. Bye, Samuel. Yes, yes, yes. He looks bigger on camera. Yes. A range of vision. I'm not really sure how far they can see, if that's what you're asking, Samantha. Good question. That's something to look up. It might vary from individual species, etc. I know their vision is amazing. They can see very, very far and see very well, very sharply, and in full color, probably even more colors than we can see for all we know. That is definitely something to look up. I'm always learning all the time, so thank you for stumping me with your question. I don't know how far they can see, but I know that vision is their main sense, and they have amazing vision and better than almost any other lizard. So again, chameleons don't really have ears, so they can't hear very well. That makes sense. And they don't really smell very well, or I don't know if they taste very well, but vision, definitely amazing. So I don't know what their range of vision is. Let me look up. Thank you so much. Oh, hello, Angela. Nice to see you. Yes, aren't the wood ducklings' noises so cute? I think they are too. I bet you do miss it. Oh my goodness. It's so good to see you on here, and I'm glad that we had some birds on for you, because I know birds are one of your favorites. So thank you for joining in. Well, you guys have been a fantastic audience once again. Thank you for joining in, and we love you, and it's been really great, and I hope you've enjoyed the program. Sorry I was a little scatterbrained today. It's been a minute since I've done a program, been a week actually. So I hope you've enjoyed it regardless, and liked meeting all of our baby animals today, and I hope you have a great, wonderful rest of your week. We'll see you next week right here on Facebook and YouTube on Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. Central Time. And like I said, we might do another pop-up Instagram show maybe today. Who knows? Maybe I'll do that real quick. Alrighty, guys, it's been wonderful. We'll see you guys next time here at Once in a Wild.
We are nothing close to ordinary, but we love to be your friend. Hold our hands and let's have fun together, singing as loud as you can. Everybody singing once in a while. Together. Once in a while. I wanna hear you say once in a while. That's the fun for me and you.
Alrighty, guys, thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you next time here at Once in a While. Bye.